pleasure to be here. Riaz, thank you for having me here. And I wish you and Repute all the best. In fact, there are many stories to be told, and people here, each one of them is also a unique brand in themselves. And it's a great sort of initiative that you're taking. So I wish you all the very best. Um, so pleasure to be here. My name is Sunay Bhasin. I'm the CEO of MTR Foods, a brand which is 100 years young. And exactly 1924, MTR started off as a restaurant, not too far from here, right? How many of you know the M? What does M in MTR stand for? How many of you know that? Okay, tell me. And Mavali, why is it Mavali? Okay. That's a small place actually next to Lal Bagh. Okay, and that's where the first restaurant was open as a small coffee shop. And it had a lot of rooms. And that's how it was Tiffin Rooms, which actually originated in Mavali. And then, of course, the brand has grown and gone from strength to strength. I am a part of Orkla India. Orkla is a Norwegian company, but proudly local. We actually own MTR and Eastern over here in India. And we've had a fantastic journey. I'm going to talk something. I was given this hard piece of work on a Sunday especially to come and give a keynote session and talk about this particular topic, which is changing landscape of brands and businesses. It's there, and I think it's a topic that's relevant, especially when I look at the brand that I represent, the company that I represent. We are 100 years young, and I think one thing that has helped us continue till now is really adaptability and evolution. So we've not stayed static, but this is not about MTR. This is more about changing landscape of brands and business. I may give you some gyan, but I'll try and stay away from it. And I've been given 15 minutes, so I'll try and stick to the time. Now, if you really look back, the landscape in humankind, we are all part of that, has always been changing. Nothing has ever been static. So starting off maybe as a caveman to how our evolution has happened, I think the only thing that has been constant is change. And the change basically has come from our constant hunger and constant desire to do more. Life for humankind has never been static, and it's been a sort of a virtuous cycle. What started off as a need, and then your desires kick in, and those needs then are sort of overlaid with wants. Then your desires need to lead to these wants, which need to be satisfied. And then those wants over a period of time again become needs, right? And that's how humankind has always prospered. There's always been a constant state of dissatisfaction, and which is good because coming from how human behavior is, that allows the brands and businesses to serve those emerging needs, emerging wants, and create value for the consumers and create value for themselves. So really, that's been the story ever since mankind started. And I was just thinking about it, and I said, what possibly brings out this story the best? I think we all possibly, I would imagine, barring that little gentleman sitting in yellow over there, I think all of us have seen the change that India has seen over the last 30-odd years, right? So there was an India till 1991, and then we saw an India emerge. And I think it's fairly representative of actually, I wanted to share two videos. And let's just see that and let's discuss a little more. So the India then, right? This is sometime in 1990, was largely a one-channel media, Doordarshan, pretty much reflective of how we were all living our lives. Limited brands, simple lives, maybe kind of unidimensional. Can I have the video, please? The first one, the one on the left first, yeah? And this is how
कल से शुरू होने वाले संसद के अधिवेशन में 57 नए विधेयक रखे जाने की आशा है। कल अधिवेशन के पहले दिन सरकार का इरादा एक ऐसा विधेयक रखने का है जिसके अनुसार पर्यावरण अदालत।
So this guy is Shammi Narang, very renowned news reader, right? And we all grew up like that. So news was read, and news was told, and it was told maybe during certain hours or certain minutes, 9 o'clock news and the 2 o'clock news. And we all used to wait and discover what was there. And then change happened, right? And news is something that we all know all the time, right? Your phones buzz, you hear breaking news, something happened some part of the world, and then the need is no longer to just hear the news, but the need is actually to understand the news and maybe have some entertainment. And that's really the kind of evolution the change in landscape has brought about. And I'm going to play the second video. Please don't go by the content of the video. That's not the intent. The idea is to showcase how the news has evolved. And can I have the second video, please?
Why can't you stand up for Jana Gana Mana? Why can't you stand up for Jana Gana Mana? Why does it stand? Why do you want to stand? Why don't you stand up for Jana Gana Mana? What's your problem with it? Why can't you stand up for 52 seconds? Why can't you? Why? See the entire Rotary Club.
So you used to have news readers, and now you have the evolution that has taken. It's the same channel. It's still the same media. But the need being served is completely different, because what you used to discover during the Doordarshan days is already on the phone 24/7. What you desire now is maybe some kind of analysis, a deeper story behind why something happened, right? Maybe some entertainment, and the lines are getting blurred. So the format of the news still exists, but it actually serves a very different need. And that, in a way, is the evolution. Of course, the world has seen it, but India has possibly seen it the most, given that, in our lifetime, we've seen the last 30 years really, really change dramatically. Yeah? So I was talking about this. So we saw many disruptions in the last 30 years. We started off with economic liberalization, like I said earlier, in 91. We have seen relative affluence, especially amongst urban areas, metros. Lives have become better, incomes have become better, aspirations have risen. We've seen digitization. We were talking about mobile phones. We were talking about, I think Riaz was also talking about how, mobiles are all pervasive. Digitization has happened. Now we pay through UPI. We have seen a young, confident India that's ready to take on the world. And that's not an exaggeration. I think even when I travel to smaller towns in India, I see a very confident India, right? A very positive India. People who are really wanting to make a difference in their lifetime. That has emerged. We have seen the retail change completely. Yeah, we used to have maybe a Karol Bagh or Connaught Place. I grew up in Delhi. We had some maybe stores. We had a lot of mom and pop stores. Now you see chains, you see malls, you see e-commerce. Lot has changed. And then, of course, a lot of disruptions which have shaken us, sometimes given us new avenues to explore, new things to do. We have seen demonetization. We've seen the GST regime come in. We saw the pandemic. We've seen UPI emerge. Ways of disruptions have been different. This is the kind of flux that we have lived in. I think everybody refers to this VUCA. So in a way, this is VUCA. A lot has changed in the last 30 years. And then if you really look at this change, the change reflects, if you just zoom out, India is a large economy. You spoke about the fastest growing large economy. Market capitalization in Indian markets touched $5 trillion this year. We are, I think, the 4th largest in terms of market cap. We have seen startups, a lot of startups like the Repute and many others come up wanting to disrupt the industry, wanting to disrupt what's out there, and they are being well funded. So my point is, a lot of opportunities have been created, a lot of new things have happened, and continue to happen. In our lifetimes, we have seen a mobile phone take over the entire spectrum of needs that were defined earlier by these maybe 50-odd things, right? We do everything over here through a mobile phone. We have seen today, I think while observing you also, a lot of people picked up the phone, clicked some picture. You asked people to look at repute.in. People looked at it. A lot of people have already got news messages. Some people have got messages from their wives, when are you coming back? All of this has happened, right? Because this is reality. We are constantly being bombarded. There's a lot of clutter, and it's 24/7. It's no longer about having a cutoff time and saying, oh, I will only look at something when I want to. The constant flux, the need to be out there, the need to catch what's out there is very, very high, and everything over here is feeding into sort of satisfying that need in some way or the other. You can call them distractions. You can call them maybe connectivity. We live in a hyper-connected world with multimedia serving us in many forms. There's a lot of debate if the attention spans have shrunk to 8.25 seconds, less than that of goldfish. Apparently, goldfish, I realized, has an attention span of 9 seconds. People keep debating if it is so, but I think the reality, the bigger point is our attention spans have become limited. Jyoti, you were talking about the living in the reels world and how that is changing behavior. So we had a very interesting discussion just before I came up. And Jyoti over here was talking about how her book reading behavior has changed because the way she consumes reels. We are all consuming reels, interesting stuff, 6 seconds, 10 seconds, and multiple stuff, right? And our mind is constantly churning. And in fact, when you spoke about that, I reflected. I know a lot of people who are doing that. You start reading a book, you don't finish it. Your mind wants to jump to something else. Similarly, consumer behavior is changing. How people are living their lives is changing. And if you really look back, I think there are these broad things that have dramatically changed. We used to be fairly deprived, largely homogeneous consuming class or non-consuming class. And then suddenly now, there are multiple consumer segments that are out there. You can segment consumers through age. You can do them through incomes. You can do it through aspirations. You call it whatever you want to. You can do gender. You can do urban, rural, multiple. Consumer psychographic segmentation, multiple segments have emerged. How people are actually now seeking their career options, that also is reflective of the kind of changes that have emerged. We used to be largely, large distribution, mom and pop led. Today you can pretty much come and disrupt through quick commerce. You can disrupt in a limited way through multiple means. I've just listed some over there. What used to be fairly simple media, couple of channels, 1 channel, 2 channels, radio was there, some press was there. Today you are, like we said, the connectivity, the kind of bombardment that is happening, I can't even list it out here. But it's just an explosion of things that you are actually exposed to. And actually, we still had large brands, but maybe a few. Very few, in fact. And they were able to create these strong barriers, So Unilevers of the world, they crafted a great model, right? Which was about reaching a lot of stores, going deep into India, creating, a lot of visibility in media. And then they were able to create barriers where they were able to fend competition off. Today, like I was saying, there are multiple levels of disruption, and there is that much more chances of a competitor, a startup, coming and challenging you. And that is leading to a lot of brands being created. Proliferation is there of a lot of brands. Multiple opportunities, multiple segments. You have a story, come tell your story. You are possibly going to be able to create a brand. So all this we have seen, in our lifetime. And the traditional model of brand building has gone from a fairly simple, linear one to possibly not so linear, very complex. And sometimes I hear a lot of people really talk about it. Oh, so then how do I deal with this? What do I have to do? Maybe virality, this, that. Yes, possibly. But you can look at it in two ways. You can see these disruptions. You can look at it as a threat. It's a threat for those who are afraid to evolve. It's an opportunity for those who embrace these changes and are ready to actually move along and go along with these changes. And, you know, like I said, world has never been static, right? In fact, the industry that I come from, food, has never been static. How can brands be static? We eat a masala dosa today. There was no potato in India 400 years back. Chili powder that's in every household today was not 400 years ago there in India. Today, it's in 100% of the household. So food continuously evolves. It evolves because of influences. It first evolved due to the kings who ruled us, dynasties who ruled us. Then it came through, you know, how trade started to happen. Now it is happening through internal migration, social media. So similarly, brands also have to evolve, and that's where the opportunity lies. How well are you able to read what's going on, and how well are you able to adapt? I think that fundamental really doesn't change. And that's why I say that, you know, while the context in which the brands play, the businesses play is constantly changing, this is a question worth discussing maybe today through the course of the day when we have various panels, discussions. Have really, you know, the principles of how a brand succeeds, have they really changed? Maybe, maybe not. I believe that they haven't, because the strong businesses are still built on the back of strong brands. Brand could be a person. Here, I would say, Riaz, you are a brand. Whatever your values are, great friend, always there, and you are building something. Here, you are the brand which is now sort of rubbing off on the repute, right? But that brand will hopefully lead to a strong business being created. The fundamentals of how brands are created and how brands succeed are still the same. It is still about a very clear, sharp, deep understanding of who your consumer is. There are a lot of choices to be made. It's easier said than done. Like I said, there are multiple segments over there. But if you understand who you are catering to, if you follow the basic design principles where you create something with a clear differentiator, looking at the needs, the wants, the desires of what the consumer segment is seeking, and you are able to communicate that effectively, and when the consumer uses your product or service, you are able to offer real value, you solve for real challenges, real problems that these consumers have. Not only do you create a successful brand, but you also create a successful business where value is created for, you know, the brand as well as for the shareholders and for the business. And some principles which will never change. All brands have an essence. All brands have a core. There'll always be this lure of actually going out, right? I'm a traditional food brand. Yeah, chocolates. Rohit is growing. Do I really have the ability to get there? It's about making choices. Does my brand core define it? Maybe, maybe not, right? Stick to your core. Make those choices. Have a consistent brand voice. Very, very critical. The brands are like people. You trust people who are consistent. And similarly, you know, when you have a clear brand voice, work out a very sharp, compelling story. All of us love stories. Especially in our today's environment, where we are bombarded with multiple platforms, multiple messaging, and our ability to hold our attention is shrinking. It is how great, compelling a story your brand is able to build. That helps you sort of differentiate, that helps you stand out, and that helps you engage with the consumers that you're actually wanting to reach out to. And I think just my last slide. Whenever you do that, I think all of us in this room realize this. Please design for India. India is unique. I guess every market is unique. India is unique. It's very easy to try and borrow something that has worked somewhere else, make it relevant for India, solve for the problems that India has, solve for the problems that are emerging with Indian consumers today, and there are many Indias, right? There are three broad Indias that I see. There is an emerging India, there is an aspirational India, there is an emerged India, right? And it is reflective actually of, when you look at this, the income sort of pyramid, the top of the pyramid, we are still a very poor country, right? 53 lakhs per annum is the annual income of the top 1% of India, but that's still the emerged India. There's a lot that you can do with the rest. Work out your value proposition, solve for real value that you create for these consumers. You can go by age, you can go by, I'm a food guy, India is as diverse, food reflects culture, every 100-kilometer food changes, India culture changes. Be respectful of the culture. Make sure that you are deeply understanding that culture, respect that culture, build a strong brand, identify what you're solving for and for whom. The principles have not changed, the dynamics have changed, the context has changed. Try, and don't be afraid to fail. I think there's a lot that we can discuss today. These are just some thought starters to get our discussions going. Thank you again. That's all for me, and look forward to a great discussion. I'm on the panel led by Samar soon after, so look forward to that. Thank you again.